But I want to tell you this.
Crazy on me today. Let me ask you this question. Why are you hiding pedophiles? Why are you shielding pedophiles? Why are you protecting pedophiles?
That is maybe the most offensive thing you could say to me, given the numbers.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, thank you for being here today. I want to first talk about the significant role that the FBI plays in combating the national security threats posed by our nation's greatest threat, our nation's greatest security threat, China and the Chinese Communist Party. It's a fact that China is America's most significant national security threat, isn't that correct?
I would say so, sir.
And you would agree with me that China wants to dominate the United States of America?
I think that's largely their plan.
And they want to dominate the world, both militarily and economically, isn't that correct?
I think so.
And sir, you've been FBI Director for the last, 8 months?
7 months, yes.
7 months, and during that time, have you held any stock in any companies founded in China?
I don't believe so.
Well, you do own stock in a company known as Elite Depot, don't you?
Which one, sorry?
Elite Depot. You own stock.
I think that's, I'll have to get back to you. I think it's a law firm and it's a company out of Singapore.
Okay, well, no, the company out of Singapore, which is owned by Elite Depot, is the Shein Company, which was founded in China, correct?
That company operates out of Taiwan.
Well, they changed their headquarters from China back in 2022 to Singapore for tax purposes, but it's owned by a Chinese billionaire. I think his name is Charlie Zhu, and you own stock in the company that owns Shein.
Which I disclosed during my confirmation process.
You certainly did. And now, do you still hold that stock in that Chinese company?
Pursuant to the Department of Justice, who reviewed my material that was submitted during my confirmation process, I was able to hold certain stocks, and they made the decision.
You still hold the stocks that you have? You still hold on to these Chinese stocks, these stocks in this Chinese company?
I disagree that it's a Chinese company, but I was in the DOJ, when you're appointed, makes a call on what you can and can't possess.
Well, now, let me ask you this. Chinese companies steal trademarks, they produce counterfeit products and sell them over the internet on platforms such as Shein. They steal intellectual property. They steal data from American companies. And to me, it seems inconsistent with your role as FBI Director that you would own stock in a company that is based in a country that is the nation's premier national security threat. It's like you are putting your own financial security over the security of the nation.
I disagree with that characterization.
Well, I think the American people look at it like it's a classic situation of the fox guarding the henhouse. If the FBI is charged with investigating espionage, economic espionage by companies controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, and you are the director of the FBI, you've got a conflict of interest.
Sir, I would just show if there's any intimation that I'm against.
Why are you holding on to this stock?
It wasn't a decision I made.
And it's valued at up to $5 million as of when you last reported, correct? $5 million in stock?
No, I don't follow it.
You don't follow it, but you're still making money off of it.
I don't have any money off of anything.
Well,
what I have done...
Trump's trade policies directly impact the value of that Chinese stock. Won't you agree with that?
Which trade policy? I'm not a trade expert.
Okay, All right. Well, you have not released
Given
the
the
Epstein
numbers
files.
of pedophiles.
You were aware of
we
the
have
Epstein
arrested-
client list that was published in the 18,000
The gentleman has
emails released?
expired. The gentleman yields
Can I just-
back.
Can you answer the
Can
question?
I just respond?
Of course, the gentleman can answer the question.
Since I took over the FBI, there has been a 33% increase.
Sir, all of
in
that started under Christopher
Your time
Wray.
is done, but
No,
the-
it didn't.
the witness gets to
All of
answer
that
the
started
question,
under
and
the
then we'll go to our
previous,
next
Thirty-three-
FBI director, sir, and you're coming in here trying to take credit for something that a previous director
Gentlemen,
instituted and largely brought to conclusion.
I take
I
no
think it's
credit.
been clear that
offensive.
the director
It's offensive.
has numbers are so
incorrect
much
also.
better than the previous director.
It's
Director Patel, if you want to
I
answer
take-
the question.
I take no credit. The men and women of the FBI have seen a 33% increase in the number of counterintelligence arrests out of the PRC.
So all of a sudden, when
And
you
the-
coming in 7 months ago,
and,
Gentlemen, his time has
Heaven on earth.
expired.
and
And as the hearing room fell silent, the echoes of accusation still hung in the air. A moment of confrontation that peeled back the thin veneer between power and accountability. What began as a question about stock holdings had turned into a moral reckoning, a clash between perception and principle, between financial interest and the fragile trust of a nation. Congressman Johnson's words cut through the procedural calm like a blade. Have you held any stock in any companies founded in China? It was more than a question. It was a challenge to transparency, to allegiance, to the idea that those charged with guarding the nation's secrets should be beyond reproach. Director Patel's response, measured, hesitant, caught between legal precision and moral discomfort, revealed the uneasy balance that defines Washington. "I don't believe so," he said. And then the unraveling began. Layer by layer, the hearing exposed a web of technicalities, of ownerships and shell companies, of corporate relocations from China to Singapore to Taiwan. Each clarification seemed to raise a deeper question, not whether the rules had been followed, but whether the rules were enough, whether ethics can truly coexist with entanglement in the global markets that America itself helped create. Because beneath the exchange was a larger truth, that in an age where capital moves faster than conscience, the lines of loyalty blur, that an official tasked with defending against Chinese espionage could legally hold stock in a company tied, however indirectly, to Beijing's elite is not an anomaly. It is a symptom of something deeper, a government that struggles to reconcile its ideals with its investments. Johnson's voice carried the anger of a public grown weary of excuses. "It's like the fox guarding the henhouse," he said. His words landed with a moral weight that could not be ignored. The hearing was not just about one man's portfolio, it was about the soul of American governance, about what it means to serve without self-interest, about how the machinery of power so often demands purity from others while excusing compromise within its own ranks. And yet, even as the questioning turned from policy to accusation, from stock ownership to the searing charge of shielding pedophiles, the tone shifted from inquiry to spectacle. The air thickened with outrage. The line between justice and theater blurred. The director's face tightened as he replied, "That is maybe the most offensive thing you could say to me." It was not just indignation, it was fatigue, the exhaustion of a system devouring itself in sound bites and insinuations. What should have been a forum for truth became a battlefield of rhetoric, where every question was a weapon and every answer a shield. Still, the chaos of the exchange revealed something unmistakable, a government at war with its own reflection. On one side, the righteous fury of elected officials channeling public distrust. On the other, the guarded composure of bureaucrats navigating a labyrinth of laws that allow them to be both technically innocent and morally compromised. It is a dance as old as the Republic itself, the struggle between law and legitimacy, between what is allowed and what is right. When Patel finally spoke of results, a 33% increase in counterintelligence arrests, 1 in 500 child predators brought to justice, the numbers landed not as victories, but as echoes in a chamber already consumed by doubt. The congressman's rebuttal cut through the applause. All of that started under Christopher. It was a reminder that in Washington, even success is contested territory. Credit is currency, and truth, like justice, is often negotiated. But beneath the noise, something real had been revealed. That power, even when wielded in service of protection, can corrode from within. That the same institutions sworn to defend the nation can, through the smallest cracks of complacency, invite mistrust. The American public, watching from their screens, saw not heroes or villains, but a system struggling to prove it still deserves their faith. And in that struggle lies the real story. The story of a democracy built on the promise that no one, not even the powerful, stands above accountability. The story of how transparency, though often uncomfortable, remains the last safeguard against decay. Because when the guardians of justice hold stock in the very forces they are meant to guard against, the question is no longer financial. It is moral. It is existential. It is about whether the Republic can still distinguish between the interests of its servants and the integrity of its service. As the gavel fell, closing the hearing, the room seemed to exhale, not in relief, but in resignation. The tension did not resolve. It merely retreated into the record, to be replayed, reanalyzed, and reinterpreted by the nation's conscience. For this was not just an argument between two men. It was a mirror held up to the American experiment itself, a reminder that power demands vigilance, and that truth, no matter how contested, is still the measure of freedom. Because every question asked in that chamber echoes beyond its walls, into boardrooms and living rooms, into classrooms and courtrooms, into the hearts of citizens who still believe that government should serve something greater than itself. And so, as the lights dim in the committee room and the microphones go quiet, one truth remains. The health of a democracy is measured not by the perfection of its leaders, but by the courage of those who dare to question them. This was more than a hearing. It was a test of integrity and a warning of what happens when power forgets who it serves. This is Congress Chronicle. Subscribe to the Capitol Watch and stand with us as we keep watch over those who claim to keep watch over us.